Then there was the Shaved Fish album, which was a collection of hit singles.
Well, hit and misses, I think, on Nears. That was another thing. Was it a subconscious move? Did I know I wasn't going to be on Capital EMI anymore? I had no thoughts about it. But what I found out was when I went to look for the Cold Turkey master tapes, nobody knew where they were. I had to use dubs of Power to the People because the tapes had gone. Nobody gave a damn at the record companies because they weren't that big enough for them to be interested. So what I realized, if I don't put this Shaved Fish together, that's why I didn't call it oldies but goldies or the best of, because it wasn't. Some of them didn't hardly get any airplay. But I thought if I don't put this package together, some of the work's just going to go. It'll be lost forever. So I put it together and sort of, at least it's there now for anybody who's interested.
On that subject, are you aware of the amount of Beatles product that has been reissued in various forms over the last few years? We've had an album of the Beatles ballads, we've had the Beatles doing rock and roll, we've almost had the Beatles doing things the Beatles didn't do.
Yes, I know. But some of them I was aware of because they would call about it, and I asked for George Martin to reproduce them. They wanted to do them in some way or other. I've forgotten what it was, that double package that they did. And I was involved in that respect about just checking the condition of them because I didn't want lousy versions going out. I wanted them to be as was. And I asked Capital EMI or EMI Capital, whichever it is, please ask George Martin, would he take care of it so that at least he knows what to do with it. I didn't want some strange guy making dub versions of it and putting it out because some of the versions that were going out, the reissues, were pretty poor. I hadn't even listened to them because I just presumed they'd take the tape as we made it and make a master and put it out again. But they didn't. They'd been screwing around with a few of the early ones. I didn't know that till it was too late. So on that last package where they had Beatles, different periods, that one, I made sure that George...
The red and the blue?
The red and the blue, that one. I made sure George Martin was there, and I made sure they put that picture, which I got Linda to take of the four Beatles in the same pose as their very first album, over the EMI office in that other place, some square, I've forgotten.
Manchester Square.
Manchester Square. So I was involved in that respect, in that package, making sure that the cover was what I wanted and that the sound was done by George Martin. So I don't mind that one.
And you checked the remix too.
Checked the remix after he'd done it, and it was as good as you could get out of it, whatever mono recording we did then.
Vocals right, everything else left, or Vicky Berkey?
Yeah, that was surprised me. I don't know what we were doing then. I want to talk to George Martin about that. Why were we always putting the drums on the right and why wasn't it in the middle? I was surprised. I always thought in terms of mono, I wasn't that sold on stereo.
Almost made Kenny Everett an extra Beatle, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Did some wonderful editing jobs.
Well, Jack Douglas, who worked with us on this thing, Double Fantasy, and he worked with us on Fly, approximately Mind Games, he goes way back. He was the young engineer those days.
He put the strings on Imagine. And,
yeah. Well, he was saying that the way they learned how to reproduce Beatle music in studios and on stage was because of those extraordinary stereo things. They could isolate the vocals, the harmony, and learn that, and then isolate the other side and learn that, and that's what they were doing. But I don't know why the hell we did that. I have to ask George Martin.
1975, when you retired and went underground, for want of a better phrase, you said, I have made my contribution to society.
I didn't.
No,
this is the funny thing.
That.
You know how you're saying, well, were you laughing during the bed-ins and the bags and all that? It's funny that you're laughing about it. Of course we were laughing. We had fun. Also, the fun of when we weren't doing anything was all these amazing stories. They had in the Daily Mail, the Daily Express, that I'd gone bald. They showed before and after pictures. They used a picture of me with a berry on.
You shouldn't have played with
this is not a wig,
Elton John. That's
yeah, right. So anyway, a couple of stories went around. One that I'd gone completely bald, and the other was that I'd made this extraordinary statement that I made. I mean, you can hear how I talk. Can you imagine me saying that? I've made my contribution to society, and what is it? What does it go next?
No, that pretty well was
and
the
I
quote.
will no longer work again. It was the whole quote. I never said that because I didn't talk to any reporters or radio people.
Or anybody.
Or anybody for the 5 years that I was underground, as you call it. I didn't talk to anybody, so I never said that. I don't know where they got it from.
And we were way overground on the 7th floor of Dakota.
we were high as kites, my dear. Underground. That was the Newsweek. You see how the media self-perpetuates itself? Now, the first interview we did after the 5 years, we chose to do through Newsweek, for whatever reasons.
I've read it. Yes.
Right, okay. So they ask us the questions, she goes back, the editor rephrases the questions. And when she sat down with me with a little tape recorder and said, what made you withdraw from the public for 5 years, was how she put it. When she gets back there, the editor says, underground, you know why? I've worked out the psychology, because Abby Hoffman had just come out from the underground, so they tie Hoffman, Lennon. Oh, why were you underground? I wasn't underground. I was overground. I was all over the place, like I said, all over the world, traveling. And we were doing all kinds of business. You might have heard cows and all that sort of stuff. I mean, we were pretty damn active. We just weren't in the papers. We weren't available for comment, that's all.
Did you say something to the extent that life doesn't end when you cut off your subscription to Billboard?
I did say that, but I said that after. I mean, the quotes are correct in Newsweek. It's just that the questions was rephrased. Yeah. So let's not perpetuate that underground. There's no underground about it. It was not underground at all.
We had a good time.
Yeah, we were having a fine old time. It's just that we were making no comment. When Elvis died, people were harassing me in Tokyo for a comment. Well, I'll give it you now. He died when he went in the army. So, you know, that's when they killed him. That's when they castrated him. So the rest of it was just a living death.
You've said that you reversed roles, that John...
Yes, my dear.
Looked after... Looked after Sean. How good a cook are you, John?
Not bad, not great. I mastered the art of rice. They say anyone can cook rice, but few can cook it well. I can cook it reasonably well. I can do fish.
You're a good bread maker, right?
I've learned to make bread, which I was thrilled with. I took a Polaroid of my first bread, you know. There's these two I couldn't believe they came out like that. Because
in a good old macho tradition, I mean, you had to record it in history, you know what I mean?
I was thrilled, you know. It's not macho. Anybody would. It was the first bread. It looked great, you know, and it tasted good. And I was pretty damn good at it. And so for about half a year, I was providing the food for Yoko, the baby. Even the staff was eating. I was so excited that I could do it. But after a bit, it was wearing me out, because life becomes, as most housewives know,
routine.
A routine of between the meals, you see. Before breakfast starts, you've got a little time to yourself, a coffee and a smoke or whatever, and then everybody comes out, wants to eat. Okay, feed them. You don't get a gold record. They just swallow it. If they swallow it, that means you were a hit. If they don't swallow it, it means you did something wrong, you know.
But
so then
that's
you're thinking,
what wrong? What?
Yeah, that's how I really feminized in a different way. And it was quite an experience. It was equivalent to, say, going to a monastery and withdrawing in that way, but not going to a Zen monastery or going to India to meditate. So in that way, it was a withdrawal. It was a Zen experience to master that cooking thing and put as much energy into that bread,
which
and make it right, you know, not just whack it away. I took it from scratch. None of that buy a packet of Pillsbury or something and just it blows up into bread. From scratch with the flour and the hand, doing by hand. And then the time between breakfast and lunch is very quick. You hardly have time to read the paper. That's presuming it ain't raining and the babysitter can take the child out, so you get a break from the constant, Daddy, look at this, Daddy, look at that, look, you know, look at me, look at me, look at me. Feed the cats. Then it's bloody lunchtime. So this went on for about 9 months. I really enjoyed it because I put my mind to it. The meals is what you live. You live a regulation of between meals. And on the other side of me that had always just been served by women, wives, girlfriends, who you just sort of flop in drunk and expect some girlfriend at college to make the breakfast the next morning, even though she'd been drunk as a dog too with you. Suddenly to get on the other side of the counter, it was quite an experience, and I appreciated what women had done for me all my life that I never even thought about
it. A woman's work is never done, you know.
Oh, it's so true, love. It's so true. It's never ever done, you know.
And, you know, he makes this
And then
bread,
there's the dishes, that bloody machine.
If you make bread, you want people to eat it. And if they don't eat, it's a personal insult. So he went through that one. Well, Yoko, aren't you eating this? You know, I made it.
You didn't like the bread,
No, it's just that I'm not hungry,
well,
thank you.
The mother's always hanging around saying, eat up, clean up your plate, because she's put all the sweat into it, and then the kid comes and says, I don't like sausage.
Did you become a dictatorial mother, and did you not appreciate...
No.
No, he wasn't, but he was going through the experience with a, you know, sort of tongue-in-cheek way. And
they love the bread. I make it 2 on Friday. It's supposed to last a week. It'd be gone Saturday afternoon. Like pigs, whoomph, it gone. So I started buying the bread again pretty damn quick.
Well, if you don't eat it, you're offended. If we eat it up, then you think, well, I mean, I have to make it again. You know, it's that one.
But I enjoyed it, and I looked on it as a discipline, and that's how I approached it. And through that, I got into a whole another world.